Anyone else see that photo of Bill Skarsgård as the Crow? He looks like the Joker from Suicide Squad. He's the Croaker. What is going on, everyone? We are the Cinefanatics. My name's Robert Adams.
I'm Chris Adams.
And it is time for the Tagline. Wednesday night, it is time to go live and talk about movies and stuff and whatnot. It's going to be a fun conversation tonight, too, because we got some good subjects, actually. So yeah, I'm really excited. Those of y'all who are watching, we very much appreciate y'all being here. Make sure you hit that like button. Real quick, you know the YouTube thing, streamlabs.com/Cinefanatics, whatever our name is. If you have any questions, comments, issues, complaints, let us know over there. Also, patreon.com/Cinefanatics. If you feel like this craziness is worth your support and you have the means to support us, hop on the tier that's good for you. There's a $1 tier, $5 tier. $1 gets you access to the Discord. $5 gets you access to the Patreon hangouts like tonight. After Tagline tonight, roughly around like 8 Pacific, 11 Eastern, we are doing a watch along of Get Out, which I kind of think haven't we done a watch along of Get Out before? I could have sworn I remember.
I don't think so.
Well, we're going to watch it tonight. It's streaming on Amazon Prime. So if you would like to come join us, hop on that $5 tier and come join us in the voice chat on Discord.
So, and remember, we are worst your support. Throw us all of the bratwurst you can.
I do like bratwurst with some kraut and some mustard. And
I can tell.
Why?
It's on your mind, apparently.
Is that what I said? Or we are worst your support? It gets so energy driven at the beginning of these streams that the words just come out regardless of the syllables.
Ladies and gentlemen, his mouth is moving faster than his brain.
I mean, that's typically normally good. I know not everyone can do that. Otherwise, Twitter wouldn't be the dumpster fire that it typically is.
Oh, gosh. That's a whole different version of mouth moving faster than the brain.
Yes. Anyway, so, yep. Come help us out. Hop on the Patreon. Do your worst.
Ha! Brought it around.
Yep. Bring it around. Yeah, anyways.
You have not watched enough SpongeBob to quote it. Get that out of here.
That's the thing. You don't have to have actually watched it. It's just that is so popular in society that
am gatekeeping SpongeBob.
Well, stop it. See, I haven't watched it long enough to do that properly either. Hey, SpongeBob. I do know Patrick. I can do Patrick's voice. It's not really hard to do Bill Fagerbaki's voice, though. So
yeah.
Anyways, that is coming up. So upcoming shows that we have going on. So tomorrow we will be going to see Dune 2. Dune. I really like that there's a lot of positive critiques on it so far. Oh yeah, my goal for the week: go to the movies, get the Dune popcorn bucket, and walk into Madame Web. Well, good luck with that. Good luck, William Harold.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest. We'll get to the box office here in a little bit, but you better hurry up and get to Madame Web while you can.
It's probably not going to be in the theater until Sony re-releases it again.
It's been out for 2 weeks. It's not lasting much longer.
Anyways, yeah, so we will be going to see Dune Part 2 tomorrow night. So we'll have our out of the theater reaction, and then we'll film a regular review for it. Have that up probably Friday.
I'm actually excited because I rewatched the first Dune with subtitles on. Helps immensely for those of you who can't keep up with all the Dune lingo that's used throughout the movie. The Shah-Halud or the Huda Wadi and the Hakuna Matatas and all that.
Yeah, I'm doing that currently right now, and I will attest to this. I'm enjoying this movie a lot more with the subtitles on and watching it in bit parts. For some reason, it sounds weird, but I'm able to follow it better.
His ADHD, it's scratching his brain.
And what's weird about that, again, people who are familiar with our channel or us, I've seen the David Lynch Dune. I know what these movies are doing. I know what the story is and where, say, Dune Part 2, I know where it's going to go for the most part. But it's still just really hard to follow. Just a lot. They're using a lot of words that are not normal. They're big words. They're huge words.
Stop.
And And yeah, since you're just not used to hearing them, your ears just don't pick up on it. With these subtitles on, it's a lot easier. Like I actually know, like when they say there's a specific word. I think you just said it, but there's a specific word for the emperor's for the emperor's men, for his soldiers, for his people. It's like Shadura or something like that.
Oh yeah, the Shaka Khan, yes.
Shaka Khan, that's it. Anyways, so like whenever I see that, I now know who they're talking about. When they may have said that word, well, they did say the word, but I may have heard them say the word when we were watching it in the theater, and it in one ear and out the other. I don't know what it was or what it was in reference to.
Those movies throw a whole lot of Dune universe words at you, and it's hard for some people, not everybody, but it's hard for some people to be able to keep up with it, because I don't know if you guys have, ever dealt with a language that you don't speak, but sometimes a lot of the words sound like they blur together when you don't speak that language.
Especially when I talk English. And
that's the way it works with Dune, is a lot of the words that they use in those movies that aren't English, they seem to blend together. And so I don't know at what point are we talking about the sandworm, or are we referring to Timothée Chalamet as our Messiah?
That's the thing. There's like 3 different terms that they're using to describe the Messiah, prophet of the Fremen, and I'm like, okay, like which one is this? Which one is
Hassan al-Shaib?
Yeah, whatever. And it's like the Molly Dib or something like that. I don't know.
Mamet, Molly Dib, Hassan al-Shalib, Tony Shalhoub.
So, I am enjoying watching part 1 with the subtitles on as well.
I cracked myself up. He is our Tony Shalhoub.
Please tell me that happens in part 2. I want to see Zendaya sit there and like, Tony Shalhoub.
It's our Tony Shalhoub.
Someone shoot his head off.
Oh, God, that's a Men in Black reference.
The savior of the Fremen is Monk.
Tony Shalhoub.
Anyways, so that is coming up this weekend. After tonight, that leaves 2 more. I believe 2 more of these, the live taglines, before we end this and go to pre-record. So stay tuned. 2 more taglines coming up. Sunday, March 10th, we will be doing our Oscars watch along. I can't remember exactly the time, because I remember they're saying that they're moving the times around. Typically, we will start it 30 minutes before the actual show starts. So we will be live throughout the entirety of the Oscars, commentating, watching it. Come join us. It's usually a lot of fun.
If you don't know when we're going live, just look up when the Oscars start in your time zone, and 30 minutes before that is when we'll be live.
That's really great. I wish we could do that with every time we talk about the Mountain Time Zone, because I have no idea what time it is in y'all's area.
They're an hour behind us.
Are they?
Well, West Coast is 2 hours, so between 2 hours and us, there's got to be only a 1 hour.
You would think, but that's not how it works.
It is.
No, it depends on which version of the daylight savings time we're in also.
You're only talking about Arizona.
Arizona's the only Mountain Time Zone, or whoever's in
Arizona's the only state that's a thing.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Weird. Hey, at least they're not Australia, where they have 30-minute intervals to their time zones. That's crazy. Ew. Anyways, Oscar Watch Along will be on Sunday, March 10th, followed by Friday, March 15th. We will be doing the Marquee. This will be over MCU villains. I have no clue what time it is. Oh, yeah, you're in Arizona. That's right. Friday, March 15th, that's going to be 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. We will be doing the Marquee of MCU villains, tier ranking all of the villains. So that should be a lot of fun. Expect a couple of good S tiers and probably a lot of F tiers.
No, it was only a couple of real F tiers. Everyone else is B, C, and D.
I could think of one recently that's going to go F, because I can't even remember the character's name. Darben, yes, we know.
Yes.
Anyway, so that is coming up Friday, March 15th. Movies watched over this past week. Chris.
Dune.
You rewatched Dune. Okay.
I don't know if... Yeah, I talked about all the Planet of the Apes movies. I watched all those already.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about all those already. So
I still need to watch that third one.
Other than that, oh yeah, so you like the second one, right?
Mm-hmm.
You like the second one better than the first one?
I don't know.
I like the second one the best.
There's aspects of it that I like. I like some of the human interactions in the first one I liked, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's just I think I like it more based on like individual moments throughout the movie than the movie as a whole compared to the other movie as a whole.
I liked Baby Caesar.
Cornelius?
Just Baby Caesar.
Okay.
In the first one, he was a baby.
Oh, yeah. You cute little CGI uncanny valley ape.
Cute little monkey.
Anyways, new movies I've watched over this past week. I watched The Strangers Pray at Night, which is the sequel. It was okay. And then I caught up since we got the first Omen that's coming up here. I went back and watched Damien, Omen 2, and Omen 3, The Final Conflict with Sam Neill. They were okay. Like, I don't think either one of them were really that special. I did like the kid who played Damien in the second Omen. I thought he did a really good job just being creepy, but...
No wonder I've been feeling bad lately. You just let all that bad juju all over our whole house.
I watch horror movies all the time. That juju's always around the house. What are you talking about?
Oh, that's why I feel terrible all the time. Got it.
Oh, yeah. Just blame your brother and his watching of horror movies. Man, you better be glad I'm not interested in watching The Exorcist. Because that's when the whole apartment building just burns down, basically.
Ugh.
Or we just have a nice evening of split pea soup. Who knows?
Why can't you enjoy horror movies like Jaws, where it's just a shark?
Do you really want a shark in this apartment if that's your angle to go off of?
Yes, because it will die. It's no water. It lives in water.
And if we find a shark like Jaws in our apartment, somebody's getting sued. And we no longer need to worry about being able to pay rent.
Comes just crashing through the ceiling.
Yeah. Anyways, so there's that. Yeah, I think that's it. Let's get into some movie news.
Ladies and gentlemen,
good evening. This is what's happening in your world tonight.
We apologize for the interruption.
back to you.
3 movies. 3 movies this week opened up. All in different spots. Obviously, because no 2 movies can occupy the same spot on the charts. Your box office. Number 1. Ooh, can we guess what's number 1 this week?
The Bob Marley One Love?
Still? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's Bob Marley One Love. Yep. It lost 53%. So it, went down 53% from last week. Only made about 13.4 million this week. But it's hanging out the number 1 spot. Do you know what number 2 is, though?
Not Madam Web.
No, it's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba to the Hashira training. I really just went for it.
What was it called?
It's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba to the Hashira training.
I'm sorry, the internet cut out. What was that again? One more time?
It's Demon Slayer Kimetsu no Yaiba to the Hashira training.
One more time.
No, screw you.
Let's see how long we can keep that going.
Yeah, there's been a Demon Slayer movie before. There's another one. It's that anime. It's an anime movie of some sort. I don't understand any of those words except for Demon Slayer and training. Those are the only words that I understand. Anyway, that was number 2 this week. Can you guess what number 3 is?
Not Madam Web.
No, it's not. It's Ordinary Angels, which is another movie that opened up this week also.
Never heard of any of these.
Yeah, it's so Ordinary Angels is inspired by the incredible true story of a hairdresser who single-handedly rallies an entire community to help the widowed father save the life of his critically ill young daughter.
Is that one of those Angel Studio movies?
It's a Lionsgate.
Interesting.
So I'm going to go with no, probably no on that.
Does it star Candace Cameron? Candace Cameron Burr.
Honestly, the little image I see looks like Chelsea Handler, so I can't confirm that.
Okay.
It's probably not Chelsea Handler. Anyway, that's number 3. Can we guess what number 4 is this week?
Still not Madam Web.
No, actually, it is Madam Web. Madam Web fell to number 4 in its second week.
Why is that number 4? Why is that still in the top 10? What have y'all been doing this past week? There's other things to watch. I mean, how many of y'all haven't seen Citizen Kane yet? How about go watch Morbius for a third time?
Yeah, Madam Web made another 5.9 million. Putting it total gross right now. Let's actually look at worldwide.
Sony's like, it's still in the top 5. They want a sequel.
Worldwide, it is at $78.5 million. What a lot of other comic book movies usually open up to on their opening weekends is how much Madam Web has made totally worldwide in 2 weeks. Yikes. Anyway, so like I was saying, that's not going to last long.
No. Real quick, I don't want to like do a whole deep dive in this, but that Chris Stuckman thing going on with Madam Web, you're familiar with this, right?
How he doesn't want to review it?
Yeah, so he put out a video which people were thinking was going to be his review of Madam Web, and he was actually saying, like, I don't want to critique bad movies. I only want to celebrate good movies. And everyone just took to Twitter, like, or whatever, to the internet, like, how's a person who reviews movies not going to review or critique movies? Because he's not doing that anymore. He's moving away from movie critiquing. He is wanting to be a filmmaker and make his own movies. So therefore, obviously, he doesn't want to say anything bad about movies that he may have connections with. He doesn't want to burn bridges or anything like that.
Featuring people he'll work with at some point, maybe in the future.
Yeah. So that's very smart. And yeah, it's just people don't understand that he's moving away from that. Like
getting backlash over that is absolutely ridiculous.
We're still going to critique movies. Now, we said that we weren't like huge fans of Madam Web. Like we did have a comment on there that said like you two guys are probably like the like most gentlest. Like you were the nicest reviewers on this. We still didn't like it, but we're not sitting here like, oh, this is garbage. You should burn this.
I like being fair. I don't like using unnecessary hyperbole and weird, colorful language to describe something when I can just say, hey, it's not good. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's not good.
Yeah. I mean, we were able to watch it and I didn't fall asleep while watching it, which I fell asleep during Man of Steel, but I don't think that's actually a critique of Man of Steel.
No. That's just you got comfy and tired. Yeah, now, Madam Web is, it's not great. And if Stuckman doesn't want to review things like that, I totally get it.
Yeah.
I understand his reasoning. He's not saying that everybody needs to do what he's doing. He's doing it just for himself. And like people who like get upset about him for doing that, let the man live his life. Do what he wants to do. He was also anymore. He's not going to critique movies anymore.
He was also talking about like a lot of the issues with it is like the studio interference, which we're going to talk about tonight because that's a big part of our main topic. So
yeah,
we'll come back to that here in a bit. Anyways, continue on.
Number 5 in the box office is Migration. The Ducks are holding on. They've been there for 10 weeks.
Even like that's holding on longer than Wonka at this point.
10 freaking
Watch
weeks.
Wonka's number 6.
No, Argyle's number 6.
Oh, okay. Wonka's number 7.
Wonka is number 7. Been in there for 11 weeks.
After this weekend, there's a chance we're going to have Dune Part 2 and Wonka both in the top 10. Timothée Chalamet is going to own the box office.
That's 100% going to happen. I guarantee it. With Wonka being at number 7, it's not going anywhere. Especially if Dune's like really the only thing opening. You're just adding one movie to the list. Number 8 is a new release, Drive Away Dolls, with 2.4 million.
I've heard stuff about that.
Yeah. Number 9 is The Beekeeper, and then number 10 is The Chosen Season 4, episodes 4 through 6. Who cares? It's not a movie.
Okay.
It's one of those, let's put this TV show in the theater type situation.
Yep. Anyways, that's our box office, right? That's our box office.
That's the box office.
Anyways, those of you who are just now joining us, we will be doing an Oscars watch-along on Sunday, March 10th, right here on this channel, 30 minutes before the Oscars start. You know what's going on during the Oscars?
Oh.
Awards. That's right. You know what else is going on?
Other things. More awards.
That's correct. You know what else is going on? No. Hopefully, like someone getting slapped. I don't know. Never actually wishing like something like that to happen, but it is always funny when something like that happens and we're watching live. We're like, what the hell just happened? The hell just happened? What's the name of that the second place movie again?
I made some pancakes if y'all want some.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Fuck yeah, I want some pancakes.
I just wanted to play that one.
Good job, sir. Anyways, so they are doing, so back to the Oscars. They are going to be doing the live musical numbers, and we got word. We got confirmation. Ryan Gosling will be performing I'm Just Ken at the Oscars.
From
Can
what
I
movie?
get an amen?
From what movie? Okay, I'm
That
done.
one.
Yeah, I'm done. Yes. Hallelujah and amen. We have the confirmation that Ryan Gosling is performing I'm Just Ken at the Oscars, which is exactly what we wanted. It doesn't even matter if Barbie doesn't win Best Song, which I'm pretty sure Billie Eilish will get the award for that. But I am just excited that we at least get the performance of Ryan Gosling at the Oscars. It's going to be nutty.
And I hope they go like all out on it. I want the whole stage like pink or dolled up. Huh? I want everything like just there, like a full like dance trope behind him, and like if they could get all the other Kens back out there for that, that would be great.
Yeah, if they bring on Simu Liu and was it Scott Evans?
Yeah.
And
go ahead. What is it?
I forget his name.
Go. No, you didn't forget his name. You remember his name. You just can't pronounce it.
No, I forget his name.
Nakuti Gatwa.
Oh no, that's Shooty. Shooty Gatwa. Yeah, I know how to pronounce that one. I can't
pronounce it.
You're the one who can't pronounce it. No, I was talking about Kingsley Benadir. There's his name. I got to it. I got there.
Oh, Bob Marley. Yes.
Yeah. I wasn't going to just say Bob Marley.
It's like the actors are only known by that one role. Yeah, so that movie's going to star Forrest Gump.
I love the fact that I actually knew the guy's pronunciation and you didn't.
And I screwed it up.
And you came in with your peacock chest out and everything.
Pushing out your peacock chest. Regard me. Anyways. So yeah, Ryan Gosling's going to perform at the Oscars. That's going to be awesome and amazing.
And you know who else here watching it live?
You know who else wants to perform?
Who?
Dave Bautista. It is reported that he is wanting another role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is weird. Now, the thing is with some of these that we've seen people have multiple roles within the MCU. Yeah. Namely, like obviously the first one we can go to is Gemma Chan, who was in Captain Marvel and then also Eternals. The difference there is her character in Eternals her character in Captain Marvel wasn't a major character, and she was also in makeup and costume and stuff. So one could argue that it might be a little difficult for most people to look at that and go, hey, that's Cersei from Eternals.
That's the same person. She had like contacts and she looked like a completely different person.
Yeah. And like now that I'm more familiar with her, I've seen lots of movies that she's in. I've rewatched both of those movies, or at least Captain Marvel I've rewatched a couple of times. Eternals, I think I rewatched once. But aside from that, I do recognize her in both roles, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's jarring. Even if you do recognize her in those roles, it's not like, oh, this is so confusing.
We're now talking about a situation where two different individuals over the span of the entire universe happen to slightly look like each other.
Which happens. That happens in real life.
On one planet.
Yeah. I mean, how many times have we said that I'm co-hosting this show with Alex Damon?
Who?
You know who Alex Damon is. Stop it.
Star Wars Explained. Go follow
Star Wars Explained, yes. So, yes, it does happen. People do look alike. I grew up being told I look like Val Kilmer. I never saw it, but you know what? That's what people said to me. I don't look like it now.
No.
But so yeah, Bautista wants another role. Now the thing is Bautista's Drax was a major character in Guardians of the Galaxy. Granted, he was also under a lot of makeup and prosthetics and stuff, but it's going to be fairly obvious to recognize him in another role, unless he's in another role where he's like maybe voicing a completely CGI character. Problem is, his voice is also very recognizable also.
That's honestly the only thing that I think would kind of take me out of him being in another MCU role, even if he's just looking like himself in that role and not under makeup and everything. He didn't really change his voice for Drax. His voice was his voice. Maybe a little bit more jovial at times, but otherwise it's still the Dave Bautista voice. Mm-hmm. So that's the only thing that might take me out. Otherwise, I could see him coming back for something else. Especially because what he's talking about is he's wanting either a role in Marvel or the DCU. And he wants he would like to play a villain, and he wants something with a little more depth to it, which I totally get. He's in that stage in his career where he wants to be playing things with a lot more depth rather than just playing characters that look like Dave Bautista, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be pigeonholed by his body type, basically.
So I don't know who else he could play. I know we were joking about this over on your stream like the other night or whatever at twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP.
Yeah.
But then I was saying that like he could play Juggernaut in the MCU, which technically we may kind of already have Juggernaut in the MCU, just depending on how much of Deadpool and Deadpool 2 actually is a part of the MCU with the new Deadpool and Wolverine movie coming out. But
yeah,
otherwise, yeah, I think he could play Juggernaut, and that would work because Juggernaut, for the most part, always has that helmet mask on, so you really only see his eyes and mouth. Like in Deadpool 2, how much of Juggernaut's face did you actually see?
Just what was through the holes of his helmet.
Yeah, and Juggernaut was a completely CGI character with Ryan Reynolds' voice.
Yeah. It's interesting because we know, obviously, like with Vincent D'Onofrio, they've taken a more realistic approach to a outlandishly cartoon-sized individual in Wilson Fisk and Kingpin, and made them more, human, relatable, easy to understand in terms of like actual reality. They would have to essentially do the same with Juggernaut for Bautista playing him. The problem with that is that I actually believe that Juggernaut does still need to be the big CGI guy, just because of his size relation to characters like Hulk or The Thing. Mm-hmm. And they could, I think, probably through the use of computer magic, make Bautista the size of Hulk or The Thing. But would that be Uncanny Valley to see a real person a little bit larger than they actually are? You think about it, you go back to like Lord of the Rings, where we saw the hobbits all a little bit smaller than they were, but we only saw a few scenes where they're sharing with other people. Usually when we're on the hobbits, we're usually tight on them,
So they're going to end up having to create a situation where we have Shaquille O'Neal drinking out of a water bottle.
Right. I could see Bautista playing Juggernaut, though. The only thing with that, as well as because he said he wants to play a character with a little bit more depth, it depends on whether or not they really want to dive into the depth of emotion with Juggernaut's connection to Xavier.
All right, let's make him Mephisto, because you can't get any more depth than hell.
I'm not talking about that.
I mean, someone's got to be Mephisto. At some point, Mephisto's got to freaking pop up in the MCU, right?
Isn't he already on the way in something that they're working on?
There's been no actual confirmation that Mephisto may be in anything.
I think it's because they were talking about actually doing a Midnight Suns team up, and that he would be the villain for that.
That'd be cool.
Which makes sense, but
I'm kind of curious as to what they're going to do as far as Ghost Rider, but
he may or may not be a part of it.
Do we bring back the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I actually really liked that Ghost Rider.
I don't think he's off the table completely.
What was that, Gabriel Luna?
Yeah. I'm trying to think who else, like, not just Marvel, but also like the DCEU. Because, I mean, we know that Jason Momoa is going to be doing Lobo. So that rolls off the table. Otherwise, I would probably turn to Bautista for Lobo for something like that. But and Momoa is already the perfect perfect choice for Lobo anyway.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Because like
Bautista would be good like for Bane.
Yeah, but he's definitely not going to be doing Bane. I think he's also kind of aged out of Bane a little bit too.
Potentially, yeah.
He would have been good for Bane like 15 years ago.
Back when they actually did like the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
But that was also a situation they wanted to go a little more realistic with Bane. The only thing they really did was just keep the mask.
Yeah,
then they changed his voice also, which was weird, but
yes, the darkness. Plus, anytime a Bane shows up now, he's going to be compared to Tom Hardy's Bane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to think like what other like major Marvel villains haven't been done yet that he.
Ooh, who? Bautista probably.
Whoa! We lost him.
Yeah, I think we're freezing here.
That was crazy. Anyway, say it again.
You know who Bautista could do in DC?
Who?
Darkseid.
That would not be awful.
That would be a good role.
Plus, they could actually go in and they would have to modulate his voice a little bit. It would have to be like definitely deeper and definitely more otherworldly.
But he's got a deep voice to begin with. So like I'm using like the 90s Superman and the Justice League cartoon. They used Michael Ironside as the voice of Darkseid. Yeah. So other than the fact that the last name doesn't really match up, I think Bautista would be good for Darkseid, Ironside, Darkseid.
Darktista.
I think he could probably pull off doing Darkseid, and that's one that he could still age more and still be fine for that role, because Darkseid is craggly and ancient, and
he's also barely physical in that he does not need to be physical.
Yeah. But when he does get physical, he can hold his own. Yeah. Like fighting against Superman. I could see like Bautista versus like David Cornsweet. So
that'd be really cool. I could see that one. It's not a bad choice.
Yeah. I'm eager to see him do more roles in movies that I'm going to end up watching anyways, just because I thought he did a great job as Drax. I like his performance so far. So I kind of want to go back and watch that Smallville episode that he was in.
Oh man, that episode is what made me like really off on the idea of him playing Drax. I was like, I don't know about that, because like his acting in that episode was not good. And it was when they sent out notice that he was taking acting classes. He wants to be serious about being an actor. That I was like, okay. And then seeing him as Drax, and then of course like seeing him in other roles later on. Like I know he was in a smaller role in Blade Runner 2049 where he nailed it. And then there's like so many other like roles that he's done since, but yeah, Dune, all that. He's actually really great.
Knock at the Cabin, he does really good in. But because he's a very stoic character, but he's basically coming in and he's trying to convince other people that the end of the world is happening and you need to listen to me. I'm not here to hurt you. Please listen. I'm going to do what I must do to help the world survive, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So, that was a really interesting character for him to play. Like, I don't know if it would work as well if anyone who's not as big as Bautista playing that role. You couldn't get Tom Hanks to do that because,
right.
Or Forrest Gump, whoever. Yeah, Glass Onion, he was really good into.
He was also just playing like a human version of Drax in Glass Onion.
He was playing himself, like a higher version of himself.
Sort of.
Anyway, I'm eager to see that. So, next topic. So we talked about this a while back, that it looked like that Warner Brothers and Paramount may be looking to merge their studios together. Apparently that is on hold because now we've gotten news that Paramount may just be merging their streaming service with Peacock.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of talk about Paramount and Comcast getting together and merging their streaming service together, which I think is, it hasn't been explicitly said, but it's probably one of the main reasons why Warner Brothers has kind of backed off. Warner Brothers Discovery has kind of backed off on talks with Paramount because there's just too many cooks in the same kitchen. Too many cooks, in the same kitchen, and you can't really do anything. You can't really do anything with that. So, but yeah,
I do like this, that like everyone, and y'all are already doing it in the chat also, everyone's just combining the names to do like their Bennifer name or whatever. So like, yeah, there's like P Mount, Cockamount. I like that one. My favorite one so far has been Mount Cock. I thought that one was funny.
What I hope is that they actually do merge with Warner and with Prime Video at some point so that we can have Mount Max Prime Cock. Plus.
Plus. Because it's not enough unless it's plus.
Netflix.
And you can never get enough of the stuff. Anyway, so having Peacock and Paramount merge, that would be beneficial in regards to that's one less streaming service that you have to subscribe to. But the thing is, and I love this joke, and I feel like everyone Cock Plus. Good job, William Harold.
Wow.
That everyone I think is kind of casually making this joke. I've made it a couple of times. Is what happens is if we start getting all of these streaming services to merge, like Hulu and Disney Plus, I think may kind of sort of merge a bit.
They are.
Then we have Peacock and Paramount going to merge. Eventually, they're just going to form one giant streaming service and call it cable TV. So,
which everybody makes that joke and it's hilarious. But the thing is that it's not going to even be close to cable TV, even if they all did merge onto one service.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how cable TV worked, though. Cable TV worked by live channels with ads.
Yeah. So
not pick your own movie or TV show to watch and watch as much of it as you want.
There's this also, the irony of this happening while Netflix has announced that they're going to raise prices again.
This seems to be like a quarterly thing for Netflix. Every quarter.
Netflix is a cable company. I worked for a cable company. They normally, we were telling customers that your bill goes up like every year. They were actually jacking prices up usually about twice a year on average. So yeah, we would always get customers calling, I want to cancel. Y'all are raising my prices again. I'm like, they decided to do it. Don't yell at me. I have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. But
thank you for contributing to my paycheck.
That's the thing with Netflix is give me Stranger Things season 5 and then I'm dipping.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then I don't really need to care about you anymore because usually Netflix hasn't been having, contracts like contracts that leave them being the only place that you can find something. A lot of times the movies that show up on Netflix you can find on one of the other streaming services too. It's not usually just like what's the term I'm looking for, where they have like kind of sole ownership over a movie or a TV show as it's on streaming for a little bit.
Like sole proprietary, whatever.
Something like that. But they haven't, I don't feel like they've really had something like that outside of their own original content, obviously, in a while. So that is one of the situations where it's like, how often do I get on Netflix for anything? I don't really. So when Stranger Things comes back for its last season, I'll watch that, and then I'll probably not get on Netflix again. So they can raise their price all they want. It don't matter to me.
Yeah, especially if they're going to crack down on password sharing, because that's crazy. Why would people be sharing passwords anyways? Just
what I would like to see actually is Peacock, Paramount, and Apple merge. Let those three actually merge together on one service. Prime's going to hang out on its own. Amazon's not merging with anybody. Netflix is going to continue doing what it does. Disney's obviously merging with Hulu, and then Max is just doing it itself.
It's going to change its name. It'll probably change its name to like HBO or something. Who knows? That's crazy.
Yeah, probably not.
HBO Plus.
But yeah, I like the idea of Peacock and Paramount merging, because those are like the two cable channels. Those aren't really cable channels. Those are the two basic channels that everybody gets, that, you know, having them merged together would be a lot easier to keep up with stuff on.
Yeah.
And then if they could merge with Apple, that'd be great.
Yeah. So we got P and Applecock. That'd be great.
Plus.
Anyways, let's move on to the main topic. Can Marvel sue Sony? This is a fun topic. There's not, as far as I can tell, there hasn't been any official announcement that this is happening. Right now, we're in a case of speculation. I've seen a bunch of videos already where people have been talking about this. In some cases, they have talked to lawyers and gotten actual like lawyer information to react to this. Neither one of us are lawyers, so I'm basically kind of just regurgitating what I've heard them say, and a lot of it does make sense based off of my own actual knowledge of
contrary
how
to popular belief, we're not lawyers.
Yeah, so we're not providing legal advice, but we can watch other shows and say what they said.
Regurgitate what they bring up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the idea behind this is, for everyone who knows, Sony has the rights to Spider-Man. They bought the rights back in the late 90s when Marvel was claiming bankruptcy and needing to sell off the characters. Spider-Man went to Sony. Fox got the X-Men, Daredevil, whatever.
Fantastic Four.
So obviously everything with Fox has come back to Marvel since Disney bought Fox. So Marvel owns all the Fox Marvel characters again, which is great. And for the most part, the only ones that's just kind of out there still is Spider-Man with Sony. Universal still has some weird hold on Hulk for some reason or another, but I don't know the extent of that one. That's a weird contract.
Yeah, they had like Hulk and Namor, which is why you hadn't seen. Well, it's why you haven't seen another solo Hulk movie at all.
Yeah.
And it's also probably why they haven't produced a solo Namor movie either. But they keep going back and forth on whether or not those have been fully retained by Marvel again or not. But I don't know.
So what was happening is Sony bought the rights for like 7 to 10 million, which is cheap. When you look at how big of a property Spider-Man is, 7 to 10 million is a steal.
Yeah.
So they bought them cheap way back in the day. Of course, they've made the successful, at least the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, highly successful. The third one, matter of opinion, I guess.
It's fine.
It's all right. It could be better. But and then the first like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie, I thought was pretty decent. I thought they did a good job with that. The second one, though, that second one's a little rough.
I actually like the second Amazing Spider-Man better than the first. Which is to say, if I had my pick, I'd probably not watch either one of them ever again.
So, as it was revealed back when you had that whole thing with the interview, where like North Korea leaked all of these whatever was happening with Sony because of the interview, that's where we learned that Sony was in the process of negotiating with Marvel and Disney to let Marvel and Disney borrow Spider-Man, but they would still retain the rights to Spider-Man. They would make a little bit of a profit, but they would allow their Spider-Man to go play in the Marvel backyard.
Which is only benefits Sony for sure. And then, of course, it benefits the MCU to be able to utilize Spider-Man with all the other characters.
So what ended up happening is they came to an agreement on that, and that's how we got Spider-Man in Civil War. Then we got Homecoming came out. Homecoming, wildly successful. Far From Home was successful. And then everything came to a halt because Marvel was like, well, this is our character. Even though Sony has the rights to it, this is our character. We're only making like 5% profit off of these movies that we're helping to make. We should be getting a bigger piece of this pie, especially because it's our character. So Marvel and Sony went back to negotiations again. Sony didn't want to, Marvel was wanting like 50% of the profit. Sony said no. So they were going back and forth. There was a period of time that we were scared we weren't going to get Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the MCU anymore.
He would have to like multiverse eject out of there and go back over to Sony.
So what ended up happening, they renegotiated. Marvel now gets like I believe like 25% cut of the Spider-Man movies. I can't remember if it's specifically movies that they help make with Spider-Man or if they get like any cut of any other movies. I guess that would only be the movies they help produce.
Yeah, they're not only taking a 25% cut of Infinity War or Endgame.
Yeah.
I think that's
their
movie. Flip-flopped. Sony gets like a small cut of those.
But like I don't think Marvel or Disney gets any kind of a cut off of like Morbius or Madam Web or the upcoming Kraven or the Venom movies.
No, because they don't produce those at all.
Yeah. So now it's been completely ironed out. We got like a good working relationship between them, sort of. And Sony started making movies of other characters that they're allowed to make because they own the rights to Spider-Man and all the billions of other characters that are involved in Spider-Man's world. The first one they did was Venom. Again, I think we could all agree that first Venom movie wasn't bad. There's definitely some bad parts to it, but the movie overall, even I'm a diehard Venom fan, I thought it was good. I thought they did a good job, especially making a Venom movie without Spider-Man. I thought that was going to be impossible. I think they pulled it off pretty well.
He looks good, but the movie itself is meh to me.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's the sequel, the Let There Be Carnage, which was the stupidest subtitle when Maximum Carnage was right there.
Even worse.
Why? But again, I think it's a watchable movie. I don't think it's the worst of the Sony Spider-Man movies, but it wasn't as good as the first Venom.
It's not great.
But and then Morbius. Morbius was god-awful. I absolutely hated Morbius. I will probably never watch that again. Madam Web was bad. I think Morbius was worse. I'm still not probably going to watch Madam Web again, but I'm not looking forward to Kraven. I think that movie's going to be just dull and boring altogether. And I don't know anything about this third Venom movie, so I have no hopes for it at all.
Not actively looking forward to either one of them.
So the issue that's happening now is because Sony is making all of these movies, there hasn't been any kind of a clear message how connected to the MCU these movies are. Of course, we've gotten a few snippets of little things like Venom in the post credits of No Way Home. Then I think we got like a little bit of a seemingly Tom Holland in the post credits of Venom 2 on a TV. So it's just replaying footage from Far From Home. And then we got the Vulture from Homecoming popping up at the end of Morbius for no damn reason at all. It doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. I don't know. It's just a stupid scene.
Tell us how you really feel.
I am so angry about how dumb that scene is and how dumb they think we all are.
I am getting the feeling that Vulture popping up in Morbius makes you mad.
It does. It absolutely does. Like, it is a badly written scene that makes no sense at all whatsoever.
I have no idea why you're so angry, but I think it has something to do with Spider-Man.
We should team up.
We should team up for some reason.
Sure, why not? Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to me. Who's Spider-Man?
Who's Spider-Man? Yeah, whatever. So because there's these light connections, what's happening is obviously we as an audience, for people who do not live and breathe the movie space, you're just like, oh, there's another Spider-Man movie coming out. Cool, I'll go see that. I like Spider-Man. I want to go see Spider-Man. They may not know that this is not MCU, that this is something completely different. And especially right now, we're in a stage where no matter what comic book movie is coming out, lots of people are getting burnt out. They have negative opinions. It's just comic book movies are hitting a slump lately. There's a couple of good ones, like Guardians Volume 3 was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. But more often than not now, we're getting more of the meh, it was okay, I guess, to that just wasn't enjoyable. So what's happening is that's contributing to all of that. So when people see a Sony Spider-Man movie, they're like, this movie sucks. That's just comic book movies in general now. And it's leaving a bad taste in everyone's mouth for every comic book movie. like even DC's ruined it for not only themselves but also for Marvel. So hopefully the stuff with James Gunn turns around. Heaven forbid if Image finally comes out with their Spawn movie.
Yeah,
This might not be the time to release a Spawn movie yet.
But
let's reinvigorate the comic book movies.
So the other side of the coin is the people who aren't in that movie space, aren't in that living and breathing movie space. They see something that is promoted as, or barely promoted anyway, promoted as a Spider-Man related, film. You see the trailers for Madam Web, and there's a guy in a Spider-Man looking suit walking through there. You see characters in like suits with like spiders on them. People see that and they go, oh, okay, so this is part of the Spider-Man universe. And then they watch the movie, and in the movie, we make all these allusions to Spider-Man and the future Peter Parker showing up at some point. Like, we make all these allusions to this stuff, and people leave the theater going, okay, so that was part of the MCU then, because that's the Spider-Man that we know that's currently in theaters, who's currently playing in movies. This must be connected to the MCU. And then, of course, you have the actors themselves thinking they're signing up for MCU projects. Dakota Johnson didn't even know that it wasn't MCU until she showed up, read the script, and went, oh no, what has happened?
Yeah.
So, what?
I was like, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. You got like Sydney Sweeney, like all these people were they were talking to their managers. Their managers were telling them, hey, you're signing up for a Marvel movie. But what people don't understand is that while, yes, Marvel Studios has retained the rights to most of their own characters again, not all of them. And they haven't retained the rights to Spider-Man. And so when you talk about a Marvel movie, you're not necessarily talking about the MCU. You could be talking about something that is Sony seemingly trying to squeeze their own stories into the MCU, even though they're not really a part of the MCU.
So the trailer for Madam Web had the words pop up, something like "her web connects them all." There was no connecting anything in that movie. There wasn't even anything in that movie that connected to Venom or Morbius. That movie exists in its own like little universe. We're told that it's the same universe as like Spider-Man and Morbius and Venom, but there wasn't anything actually in the movie. There was no reference to anything else. So is this a part of the MCU? Is it a part of the Sony Spider-Man universe, Spidey friends?
It's the Sony universe of
Justice League, whatever.
It's the Sony cinematic universe of Marvel characters.
Yeah, whatever stupid name they've got. Like, is it even a part of that? Or is this movie just like, well, we made a movie. Bye, movie. We're going to go over here and make another one. Hi, Craven. Like, what are we doing? So,
yeah, and then you have Dakota Johnson firing her agent.
I
believe that's completely because the agent misrepresented the movie that she was getting into. And to be fair, that agent was also probably got misrepresented what movie that they were trying to sign their client up for. And that all falls back to Sony. Do they really know what they're doing with the Spider-Man property anymore? Is this loose connection to the MCU that everyone's getting confused about hurting the MCU at all?
What's funny is, so I was watching, Sydney Sweeney was on the Tonight Show last night. So I watched the interview with her, and all they were talking about is she's going to be on SNL this weekend. She's hosting Saturday Night Live.
Oh, fun.
And then also talking about her movie that comes out next month, Immaculate, which is like her first movie that she's produced on her own. That was actually, she had like a lot of interesting things to talk about that movie. I would highly recommend go watch that interview, because that was interesting how she came to produce that movie. Beside the point, they briefly talked about her in that Anyone But You, the movie that she did with Glenn Powell. Talking about her getting bit by a spider and then saying like, maybe you got spider powers. And then both of them looked at each other, like kind of like laughed and nod, and then moved on to the next topic. They didn't talk about Madam Web at all. There was no mentioning of Madam Web. There was the last movie you did, and then the next movie you're doing, and Saturday Night Live. No Madam Web speak at all whatsoever. And it was hilarious. Like, I think they purposely were like, hey, we can talk about anything you want. We're not talking about Madam Web. Do not bring up Madam Web. And so when like he made the joke of like being bit by a spider. She was like, watch it.
Yeah, they're all like making like tongue-in-cheek jokes and sweeping stuff under the rug because they all need their careers to move on from Madam Web, because we're not getting a Madam Web 2.
No.
That movie's not getting a sequel at all. I just mentioned the box office earlier tonight. It's been out for 2 weeks and it's already at number 4.
How did Madam Web not become a tax write-off? Because Warner Brothers didn't make the movie.
Bingo.
And Sony just, God bless them, they don't know any better.
Also because Sony needs to put the movie out to continue retaining the Spider-Man rights. If they write it off as a tax write-off, they could lose the Spider-Man rights. Which this all comes back to the point of,
is this hurting Marvel?
Yes, this comes back to the point of, is this hurting Marvel or not? And what can Marvel do about it, if anything? If this is hurting the MCU brand, which I would argue that it is hurting the MCU brand for general audiences.
So the issue with this is, again, we don't know the actual details of what's in the contract between Sony and Marvel. Apparently, there is a clause in there that that Marvel is saying, because Marvel retains the rights to Spider-Man in general, Marvel is telling Sony that they can't mess with Spider-Man that much. He has to be white. He has to be
Peter Parker Spider-Man has to be white.
Peter Parker has to be white and straight, and really they can't do anything else with that character outside of what's already been established in the comics. They have to keep him like that. They can bring in Miles Morales and have Miles Morales, be like black or Puerto Rican, like his nationality. That's fine. That's the completely separate character. But Peter Parker, you can't do anything with like that. So if Sony was to venture off and do that, that would ultimately cause a lawsuit where Marvel could take them to court for manipulating the character, so to speak. Losing my voice. The other issue with this now is, how bad is it actually hurting Marvel brand? Are people going to see Madam Web and go, well, man, Marvel movies suck? Because you've got essentially, how is it damaging the brand? You got brand delusion or dilution, or like brand confusion. A lot of people are going to see this thinking, hey, it's Spider-Man, it's Marvel. It says Marvel at the beginning. They're just not noticing it says an association. It's a Marvel movie. So this Marvel movie sucked now. So that's ruining the MCU and what Marvel Studios and Disney's trying to do. And then the dilution is overall all comic book movies are starting to suffer because of this. Sony bought this for like $7 to $10 million back in the 90s. Sell it off to Marvel. You'll sell it at a huge markup. So that's a great return on investment, because all you're doing is making movies that are just losing money anyways. It's a liability for your company.
There's no point in retaining the rights to the franchise if you're going to continue to produce movies that are going to fail and lose you money at the box office every single time you produce a movie.
Yeah, why make the movie then if all you're doing is losing money?
Yeah. So people pose the question, can Marvel sue Sony here because of this reason? And I would argue, theoretically, I believe that there is an argument to be made for, yes, that they could sue them. Now, the question is, will they? No, they won't. They're not going to at all.
Probably not. The major issue is if Marvel goes after Sony, then the onus of proof for that, the burden of proof of it, comes to Marvel. Marvel has to prove that Sony is damaging their brand.
Yeah, and so that's talking strictly on the what do we do if this goes to court type situation? How do we argue around this? How do we navigate the entire lawsuit? What I'm arguing is Disney just signed a deal with Sony to basically produce not DVDs, but Blu-rays, produce physical media for them to actually do the development and production of physical media for all of their movies. They're not going to turn around and sue that company that's doing that when they just signed the deal for them. The lawsuit's not on the table, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. So interesting where this could go. Lawyers all seem to be, that's basically what they seem to be saying, is like, yeah, there's a idea that it could happen, but not likely. Sony still, overall, at the end of the day, Sony still retains the rights to Spider-Man, even though it may be a losing liability with them. Eventually, they'll stop losing money, meaning they'll stop making movies, and then the rights will revert back to Marvel. Anyways, I think it's probably at this point we're looking at Marvel and Disney are probably just playing a long game until that happens. Apparently, Sony is putting pressure on Feige to quickly crank out the next Spider-Man movie because they want to make some money and save some face on their Spider-Man property. And Feige's like, no, I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
So,
we don't need to crank out Spider-Man 4 yet.
yeah, we can sit on this for a bit. Let it stew.
We've got other characters that we need to get out first. Sorry.
And then that's when Sony's like, well, we can do that too. Here comes Madam Web and Craven and Stiltman. And
that's fine. You want to lose the money? Go for it.
Wasn't there an Aunt May movie that they were going to make?
They were working on Aunt May as like a secret agent or whatever type movie,
dumb.
Which is ridiculous. I mean, the freaking El Muerto or whatever movie is technically still on the cards again. I don't think that's going to last long. It's probably going to get taken off. If it's not getting taken off the books before Craven, it will get taken off the books after Craven. 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
At the end of the day,
you'll see a video from us going, ha!
Yeah. At the end of the day, Beyond the Spider-Verse, and I guess they want to make a fourth Spider-Verse movie, which I totally understand because that's the only real successful thing they have going for the Spider-Man property right now, outside of their partnership with the MCU. Let them just do the animated. Here's my deal. And I propose this to both Sony and Disney because I know that they're both listening, either right now or later on replay. I'm sure they're watching.
Make sure you hit like and subscribe, guys.
Yes, please, Sony and Disney, hit like and subscribe. Here's the deal. Here's what you should be doing. What you should be doing is, Sony, you give up the live action rights to all Spider-Man characters. In exchange, Marvel lets you use Marvel characters in animated formats similar to Spider-Verse, where you will then proceed to hire Lord and Miller to work on Marvel characters for the foreseeable future. Sounds good for me. That's the deal.
You're allowed to continue making these movies until one of those movies drops below 50% on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, and then you have to give it back.
And then you're done, and then it goes back to Marvel.
And then that goes back to Marvel. So yeah, that's what they should do. Won't happen, but this will be interesting to see how this continues on down the line. Just because I would really like it if we could find out what was in the contract between Marvel and Sony, even though it's probably in a language that most all of us are not going to understand. It would be nice if they would release that, and then someone like the Legal Eagle YouTube channel, whatever, would translate that to dumb speak for the rest of us. So we would all understand.
Yeah, I don't think the deal I propose would happen, but what I do think will happen is I do think that eventually Sony will be selling the rights essentially back to Marvel. I think that's bound to happen. Now, the only real things that are keeping that at bay for the time being is the Spider-Verse movies. Because while I argue that they should split it up between live action and animated, I don't necessarily know if the language and contracts would allow for that or not. So the Spider-Verse movies are a hiccup there, which is unfortunate because those are actually really good. And Spider-Man's success over in the MCU and what Sony is benefiting off of that right now.
Yeah. Anyways, so that should do it as far as our main topics go. So real quick, recap coming up here in roughly a little less than an hour, we will be doing our Patreon watch along. So if you're at the $5 tier on patreon.com/cinefanatics, come join us over on our Discord in the voice chat. We will be watching Get Out. It is streaming on Amazon Prime. So come check that out. Come hang out. Should be a good time. Oscars watch along is coming up Sunday, March 10th. We will be doing a live stream, so keep an eye out for that. Tomorrow we are going to go see Dune 2, so we'll have an out of the theater reaction and a full review up on Friday. Friday, March 15th, we'll be doing the marquee with MCU villains. So tier ranking all the MCU villains. So that should be fun. Otherwise, that's all we've got coming up right now. So go ahead and end this thing. We very much appreciate everyone watching. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching this on a replay, please leave a comment down below as well as hitting like and subscribe. Huh?
Disney.
Sony. Or Sony. Sony, you're allowed to watch us just as long as you fix your stupid stuff first.
Leave a comment.
Then you can join us.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow us on social media. We are at the Cinefanatics on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok. You can also follow me at RCA Reacts on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Letterboxd, and YouTube.com/@RCA Reacts.
And you can follow me at Chris Adams MLP on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd, as well as twitch.tv/Chris Adams MLP.
Anyways, that is going to do it for the show tonight. Again, thank you to everyone who's watched. Thank you to everyone who will be watching later. Very much appreciate it. Y'all all have a great evening. A good night.
See ya.